In today's episode of Super Mario RPG Refuses to Tell You Anything, did you know that Mario's jump spell is one of the most powerful magics in the game? Now sure, at first, it doesn't really look like that's the case, we just did 54 damage with the jump spell. However, did you know that for every 2 successful jumps, the jump spell gets 1 additional damage added onto it, up to a cap of 255 times. Therefore, if you have the patience to hang around at the very beginning of the game and do 255 regular jumps, you're going to be doing insane damage early on. Take it from here, 211 damage against the first boss. But say you wanted to do this and not overlevel, this still works even if you run away from battles. There, and now you know how to get the jump on a very high attack value early on in Mario RPG. Quick Super Mario RPG PSA for you today. So anytime you gain a level in Super Mario RPG, you can allocate bonus points to one of 3 stats. Either your power stat, your hit point stat, or your magic stat. So let's say for this level, we want to increase our power stat, but when we go into it, we see that attack and defense only go up by 1. But maybe I'm not happy with this low stat boost. Were you aware that you can actually hit B here and look at the other stats? So in this case, we can see that we're getting, 3 more hit points. Or in this case, we can see that we also get 3 more magic attacks. So, if nothing else, we can see that power is the least desirable here, as far as having max stats. So just bear all of this stuff in mind. If you want high stats, stat. In Super Mario RPG, there are hidden treasure chests strewn all over the place in the Mushroom Kingdom. But did you know there's exactly 1 hidden treasure chest that's actually missable? I'm going to show you where it is and how to get it. So the very first time that you arrive in Mushroom Kingdom and go to the castle, after speaking to Toad here, you need to make sure you jump up on his head. Wait for a bit, jump up on this area here, and get this frog coin. Quick Super Mario RPG PSA. After dealing with the first of Smithy's henchmen, it's easy enough to forget why you even went to go and fight Croco to begin with. Even Mallow forgets why. But you want to make sure that you go back to the item shop and give the item shop owner Frog Fuchsia's frog coin. But if you remember, you'll get yourself a lovely cricket pie. Now all you have to do is proceed through the game as normal until you get to Tadpole Pond. Then just talk to Frog Fuchsius after he does his storyline bit. And Frog Fuchsius will be so grateful, he'll give Mallow one of his heirlooms as a child, the Froggy Stick, which is a great starting weapon for Mallow, boosting his attack power by 20. Frog Fuchsius says, "Speak softly and carry a big stick," or a tadpole. In Super Mario RPG, the Midas River is a great way to earn frog coins early on in the game. But did you know if you manage to get 100 coins in one go, you can also actually get an additional 5 coins per sweep if you get good at this. What makes this part truly difficult is that you have to fight against the current here. What I recommend is instead of trying to mash as quickly as possible, to try to do slower strokes of 5. Like I'm going to try to do the example right here. So if you take it slow, you can make it back over. If you mash too fast, the current will just kind of push you back down. So the main thing to remember about the barrel jumping is that 75% of the strings of 4 coins are going to be on the right-hand side. So after every 3 strings of 4 on the right, be sure to bonk the barrel in front of you to get into the left lane, so you can proceed to get all of the coins. So if you get really good at this minigame, you can get 6 or 7 frog coins per attempt, which means you totally won't ever have to worry about running out of frog coins. In Super Mario RPG, do you know the trick with this hollowed out tree? No, this isn't going to be a musical short, but what they expect you to do here is go in this house and jump on this here switch in order to lower the staircase. Whether you actually steal the treasures or not doesn't really matter so long as you come clean. He will tell you how to arrive in the secret area in the forest maze. So once you get to this part with the divergent path, you have to turn in first-person view. So you want to go to Mario's left, which will be this way, then another left to go this way, then just simply go straight through here, and finally right up here. But if you go here without talking to the man in Rosetown at all, you'll get not 1, not 2, but 3 flower points here. And in addition to that, if you go back to the guy's house in Rosetown with the 2 treasure chests he doesn't want you to steal, you can still get an additional 2 flower points. meaning you can actually get a grand total of 5 flower points from this whole excursion. As an added bonus, if you talk to him after already getting the treasure, he'll give you another frog coin too. Quick Super Mario RPG PSA. Did you know that if you jump on a Wiggler's head 10 times in the forest maze, you'll earn yourself a frog coin, and this never runs out? I'll give you some tips on how to do this every time. Getting good consecutive jumps on the Wiggler isn't as complicated as it looks. You mostly just have to adjust at the right time. For the most part, it's an automatic thing. But every so often, you just gotta readjust around a corner. I haven't hit the D-pad once yet, and we got 7 jumps, for example. If you can commit one of the Wigglers past the muscle memory, you'll be able to wiggle out nearly infinite frog coins very early on in the game. In Super Mario RPG, getting 100 super jumps is one of the most coveted feats in all of RPGs for that matter. This is an extremely tight window to get done. However, if you're able to get 30 jumps, when you get to Monstro Town, you can trade that in and get an attack scarf. To commemorate your 30 jumps, it'll raise all of your stats by 30. But if you do manage to get 100 consecutive jumps and go to Monstro Town, you can get the elusive Super Jacket. The Super Jacket raises all of your stats by 50, with the exception of speed, which raises by 30 points, which is still really good. So, do your best and abuse save states to get this if you need to. Good luck on the remake. In Super Mario RPG, were you aware that in the Mushroom Kingdom, there's a fella back here that'll talk to you, and he'll even give you hints throughout your journey. And he'll even have unique hints for you all the way up until you're about to arrive in Star Hill. So if you need a hand in the first half of the game, look no further than this hidden toad here. However, if you also head to Rose Town and go behind the guy's house who tells you about the forest maze path, there's another toad guy here who tells you about stuff. Right now, he's telling me about Yoster Isle, but that's not all he has to say. Not that knowing where these guys is the most useful information in Super Mario RPG, but did you know about their existence? Quick Super Mario RPG PSA regarding the minigame located in the Pipe Vault. So in order to even earn a prize in the Waka Goomba on behalf of a mole minigame, you have to earn at least 20 points. However, what's not immediately obvious. So now that I've gotten 20 points, I will earn the first high score prize, which does happen to be a flower tab, but next time I need to get 22 points. Whereas if I got 22 points the first time, I would still only get a flower tab, but next time I'd have to get 24 points, making it even harder to get the next prize. As far as strategy goes, I prefer to just try to jump on the left or right most ones. I find it takes a little less finagling to get in the right spot, since I'm not pushing up and down at all. So after beating 2 high scores, you'll wind up getting a flower jar as well, and every 2 points above that, you'll get a frog coin. Because you know how the saying goes, mole money equals mole problems. So the moral of the story is just tie the high score in this minigame in order to get the maximum amount of prizes. In Super Mario RPG, after collecting the 3rd star, you gain access to this neat little minecart section. After completing the ride the first time, if you talk to this mole, you can do the minecart section again. However, the mole will ask you if you want to take the ride again once for 10 coins, or wager 30 coins with a chance of getting 50 coins if you beat the high score. So the question remains, is the Minecart Moleville minigame worth your time? At first it seems like this would be worthwhile, because you see these big coins on the rails here to collect. Normally in a Mario game, big coins like that would be worth 5 or maybe 10 coins apiece. No, in this minigame, each big coin like that is still only worth 1 coin. Secondly, it's going to take you about 3 minutes per attempt, but eventually you'll hit diminishing returns and you won't be able to beat your high score. So at best, even if you wager and collect all the coins, you can make maybe, I don't know, 40, maybe 50 coins per go-around. So the final verdict is, I would say, don't waste your time with this minigame. Agree? Or do you think I'm making a mountain out of a molehill? In Super Mario RPG, if you go to this house in particular in Moleville and talk to this gentleman right here, he'll try to sell you some fireworks for 500 coins. The main hidden feature of the fireworks is in the credit sequence. You can change it very slightly up to the purchase of 5 separate fireworks. Once you buy the fireworks, if you talk to this little girl and shop at her per 10 store, she'll trade you a shiny stone for the fireworks. But whether or not you unlock the super boss or not, if you take the shiny stone to the item shop in Moleville and talk to this young person, they'll trade the shiny stone for a Carbo cookie. The only use for the Carbo cookie is to give it to this young person standing on the bucket. And after the trade's been made, you can do the exact opposite of what this young mole person says and take their seat, which, believe it or not, will warp you to the Midas River minigame for some reason. If you go through the trading sequence again, this young mole will give you 1 frog coin, but complaining about that is making a mountain out of a molehill. I'm gonna put up a little snippet from the Super Mario RPG strategy guide. And basically what I'm getting at here is the strategy guide is really trying to talk you out of losing to Sniff It 4 here, making it seem like it's not worth the effort. In fact, though, there is actually situational dialogue if you lose here. To start, it's best to come in here with your HP really low, because this guy doesn't do a lot of damage. Anyway, if you do die here, it doesn't actually end the game. This apprentice is just excited about how he's now Sniff It 4. And if you come back here immediately after, you can talk to another apprentice who wants to be Sniff It 5. Same deal here with Sniff It 6 too. And this appears to happen all the way up to Sniff It 8. So if you go through the trouble to do this, you'll get some situational dialogue from each and every one of the Sniffits that beat you in Booster's Pass. And unfortunately for the last apprentice, Booster only wanted 7 Sniffits. That's okay, strategy guide. This wouldn't have been interesting 20 years ago either or anything. In Super Mario RPG, when you go to the Marrymore Inn, you can either stay in a regular room, or you can get the suite for 200 coins. And the first time you do this, you'll get a flower tab. And if you check into the suite a total of 3 times, you'll also get a flower jar. However, if you do stay in the suite and check the lamp again after staying a night, the game will tell you you've only paid for 1 night, and you actually have the option to stay again if you want, even if you don't have the money. So what happens if you don't have enough money? So you wind up getting this funny scene where Mario acts as the bellhop for Marrymore until you pay off your debt. However, there is actually a reason why you would want to do this, other than it's funny. When you do this, much like the bellhops that served you, you can also get tips, which most of the time isn't anything that special, but eventually if you keep at it, you'll get a flower box 1 time during the playthrough. This raises your FP permanently by 5 points. I'd say that's a pretty sweet deal, wouldn't you? In today's episode, Super Mario RPG refuses to tell you anything. The Batub ring that you can find in Marrymore at first doesn't appear to do anything. Anyway, this item actually does 2 things. First hidden feature worth mentioning regarding the Batub ring is that it does this little thing called lowers magical damage from enemies by 50%. The second use for the Batub ring is if the princess uses the mystery jewel, which you can find in Moleville 10 times in battle, it'll then turn into an item called the Lamb's Lore. Obviously, right? And if you use the Lamb's Lore in battle, it has a chance of making most enemies go away. Somewhat unrelated, but if you use the Lamb's Lore 48 times throughout your journey, the guide says 48 times, that felt like more than 48, but anyways, once you use it enough times, you'll get the item transformed into something called the Sheep Attack. It's effectively the Lamb's Lore, but it's effective on all enemies on the battlefield. Well, if you're doing a low-level game, it's better than having to Batub your enemies. If you go to Princess Peach Toadstool's room in Super Mario RPG, and check between this fireplace and the chair here, you'll find Toadstool's something. Whatever it is, her grandma is not happy you found it, and even goes so far as to bribe you with a mushroom if you find it. But if you wait until Princess Toadstool's in your party, she gets quite mad at you for checking out this spot. So that begs the question, what is it? Because I would think if it was something like underpants, that Mario would know what that is. Do you know what I think it is? I think it's the Vibe Scepter from Super Princess Peach for the DS. Please don't make me explain what a Vibe Scepter is. In any case, I'd love to know what you think Toadstool's question mark item is down in the comments. In today's episode of Super Mario RPG refuses to tell you anything, when you're in the sunken ship, if you go behind these barrels here and through this secret door, you can earn yourself a safety ring, which according to the item description, guards against mortal blows, which certainly has its use. Although the safety ring also has a second property the game doesn't tell you about. It's just this little thing called invulnerability against elemental magic! Yes, I said that correctly. Full invulnerability to magic-based elemental attacks. Why wouldn't they tell you this? Like, honestly, you're telling me this wouldn't fit here? There's room for like 7 lines of dialogue. So do you think that this is just an oversight by the developers, or is this a ploy to sell some strategy guides? Let me know in the comments. In Mario RPG, after a certain point in Seaside Town, you can feed mushrooms to this mushroom boy here, and doing so will earn you 3 different kinds of prizes. There's berry mushrooms, where if they find one, you'll earn yourself a maple syrup. If you happen to find a rippin' mushroom, this guy will give you a rock candy. Rock candy's a one-time use item that does 200 damage to every enemy on the battlefield. And if you're really lucky, you'll wind up finding a flower mushroom, which will earn you a flower tab. Once again, let me refer you to the strategy guide. The strategy guide here states that you can only find these special mushrooms in the forest maze. However, this isn't true. I have a much better method for farming mushrooms. All you have to do when you leave the Mushroom Boy's shop is go next door to the health food store, and just simply stock up on the mushrooms here. They work just the same. I can't help but feel like this is a leftover feature from testing. Did you know about this secret method? In Super Mario RPG, if you go to the Mushroom Kingdom Inn and talk to this young man here, he seems to be playing a handheld console, and he really doesn't appreciate you talking to him. In fact, you're actually making him lose his game. However, if you talk to this young man after the events of Marrymore, he'll actually get the high score in his game and offer to sell it to you for 500 coins. And if you do buy it, you can get a mini-game in the menu called Beetle Mania. As far as I'm aware, there's no benefit to playing this game, but it's kind of neat that they have this in here just in case you feel like playing a shmup. If you knew about this minigame, what was your all-time high score in Beetle Mania? After the events of Seaside Town in Super Mario RPG, you can visit this Beetles R Us hut. To play it for the first time, it costs 150 coins, but is this minigame even worth playing to begin with? Your mileage may vary depending on how good you are at this minigame, but if you're looking specifically just for frog coins, I wouldn't advise doing this minigame at all. You only get about 1 attempt at a frog coin per attempt. Although if you're good at grabbing the males, this might be financially viable for you. However, if regular coins are all you're after, talk to this frog here on the top floor of the Elder's house in Seaside Town. He can sell you an accessory called the Coin Trick, which you can equip on Mario, and it'll give you double coins per battle. Interesting side note though, if you decide to go up this hill without a beetle box, if you got 8 or fewer flowers during the time where you're chasing Booster here, you can visit this hill and collect up to 8 flowers. If you find this minigame fun, I'm not going to rain on your parade. Knock yourself out. In Mario RPG, the first cameo I want to show you today can be found after rescuing Rose Town, which if you can't tell by simply looking at them, if you talk to this person, it'll play the Zelda music. See, Link is a JRPG character. And if you come back to the Mushroom Kingdom after visiting Monstro Town, you can see this very familiar character having a nap right here. And if you talk to them, they say, "I'm resting up for Mother Brain," which, that also sounds familiar. Oh, I remember. It's Robo from Chrono Trigger. We're fighting Mother Brain right here. In the Genodome, no less. Comes full circle, eh, Square? If you've played Super Mario RPG for any amount of time at all, I'm sure you've happened across some frog coins. But it's not obvious what exactly they do. There's one spot you can use them if you talk to this tadpole at Tadpole Pond. This shopkeeper will mostly just sell you stuff for frog coins that raise your attack or defense in battle by 50%. Or you could buy a sleepy bomb for 1 frog coin. However, if I were you, I'd save up all my frog coins for when we finally get to visit Seaside Town. Make your way to the very north of the town and head into the Elder's house. If you go upstairs, you'll talk to this frog here who also happens to be a shopkeeper. Some of these items are okay, like this one that lets you run away from battles, and this one that lets you restart a battle. However, the experience booster will raise one party member's experience gain by double. The coin trick will do the same thing, but for your money. And lastly, the Scrooge ring, which cuts your FP consumption by half. What's your favorite item that you can buy with frog coin? Quick Super Mario RPG PSA. When you first arrive in Below Me Temple, just before Monstro Town, you have a chance of getting this message before fighting the boss of the area that says, "Sorry, I'm not accepting visitors past my bedtime." And if you go all the way down, you'll find a golden Below Me that needs a key in order to let you through. So the delicious key snack can be found here, but how do we get it? All you have to do is simply go in this room and talk to the Thwomp here 7 different times, and the seismic reactions that he causes will eventually make the key fall to the ground where you can grab it. All that's down here is mostly frog coins, flowers, and some basic healing. but I thought it would be below me if I didn't tell you about this secret. In today's episode of Super Mario RPG Refuses to Tell You Anything, the Three Musty Fears side quest. This terrible trio can be found in Monstro Town, and what they do tell you is where the flags are hidden. Creeper hid his behind a wooden flower, Dry Bones is under a green bed, and Big Boo's is between the letters O and A, which can be found in Rose Town here. The second flag can be found under Mario's green bed back at his pad, and O and A can be found at the goal line on Yoster Isle. Your reward for completing this task is the Ghost Medal. All it says that it does is it raises defense while attacking, but there's no obvious stat boost according to the menu. But according to the strategy guide, the Ghost Medal increases defensive power and magic power by 2. But what the strategy guide is actually trying to say is it lowers all damage you take, magic or physical, by 50%. Not exactly raising defense while attacking. Is this just as vague in the Japanese version, or are these all Woolseyisms? If you know, tell us in the comments. In today's episode of Super Mario RPG Refuses to Tell You Anything, when you have to scale Land's End with the assistance of the Troopa Force, if you're able to scale the wall in under 12 seconds, the Commander Troopa here will offer you up a Troopa Pin. Which, when I earned this as a kid, I never really thought much of it because none of the stats go up, and all it says is grants Troopa confidence. I just figured it was like a gag accessory. However, if we consult the strategy guide once again, we'll find out the Troopa Pin does this little thing called increases attack power and magic power by 50%. We know what's really important, right? That this Troopa Pin grants Troopa confidence, not that it raises attack and magic power by 50%. Who needs to know that? In Super Mario RPG, occasionally when using an item, you can get this effect called a freebie. Pretty self-explanatory. If you get a freebie for an item, it just means you get another one you can use later permanently. As you can imagine, triggering a freebie would be awfully handy. So how do you actually trigger a freebie? I hate to break it to you, but you can't actually trigger a freebie in Super Mario RPG. It's entirely random. Now, I can hear some of you in the comments already saying, but I've gotten freebies with timed hits before in Super Mario RPG. No, you didn't. It was a coincidence. If it wasn't, explain this. The closest thing you can do in this game as far as getting a freebie goes is every item has a slightly different freebie chance. So unless somebody who's mucked around with the code in Super Mario RPG leaves a comment proving otherwise, there's no way to manipulate freebies in Super Mario RPG. Except this tip. This tip was a freebie. In Super Mario RPG, there's a few NPCs in the game that make mention of a casino. Here are the steps in finding the casino. Once you get to around Monstro Townish in the story, go back to Booster's Tower and climb all the way up until you run into Knife Guy again. He wants to make it up to you for fighting earlier by playing a little game, but if you guess correctly enough times, eventually Knife Guy will give you the Bright card. Next, make your way almost to the end of Bean Valley and go down this northmost pipe in the set of 5 pipes here. Next, make your way to the right of this golden chain chomp here and just jump 3 times here to reveal the secret passage to the casino. For all the trouble you go through to get to this casino, it mostly sucks. Slots suck and blackjack sucks. Even Great Guys Look the Other Way minigame sucks. However, if you win the stupid minigame 100 times, you'll earn the unique item called the Star Egg. The Star Egg does 100 points of damage to every enemy on the battlefield. However, it never runs out, so it's sort of like a not quite as good of a rock candy, but it lasts longer. Today in Super Mario RPG, let's show off potentially the worst kept secret in all of Super Mario RPG, and that involves Geno's Geno Whirl. Did you know that if you time the Geno Whirl just perfectly, you can do 9,999 damage with it? Bear in mind though that it's only a single target attack and it won't work on bosses. Except for the hilt of one very specific sword-based boss. But if you give this move a whirl often enough and get used to it, you'll want to use Geno for regular enemies all the time. If you know what's good for you. Quick Super Mario RPG PSA regarding this vine up in Nimbus Land. You know, this green vine here that you have about 1 pixel's worth of wiggle room to actually reach. It's worth your effort to get up here because not only is there a frog coin, you can also get the accessory, the rare scarf. And equipping the rare scarf on any of your friends will increase their defense and magic defense by 15 points. So this is a PSA after all. What's the trick to make this vine jump easily? There's a secret platform to make the jump realistically doable. Hey, if you weren't aware of this secret platform before, it's fine. I know I've gotten all the blocks, but I sure as hell don't remember them all. Yes, you want to use the dream cushion? Yes, I do. I'll try anything once. I'll try anything 8 times. It's the one where there's like a ghost. Yeah. Mario, I've kept this a secret until now. Oh, is this actually it? We did this the first try. A monster. That's sort of random. You don't necessarily get that the first try. What luck. Mario. Are you alright? How'd you get up here, Toad? You're kicking up a sweat. Here, drink this and blow those bad guys away. Guess this is goodbye. Well, I think it gives you 3. No, I guess you just gave us 2, but still. In Mario RPG, did you know about this secret house hidden in back of Rose Town? And if you talk to the gentleman that lives here, he'll tell you that he's looking for both a seed and a fertilizer. The seed you should find naturally in Land's End, after taking out my favorite variety of Smilax, the Mega Smilax. The fertilizer, on the other hand, after you finish up the Nimbus Land story arc, if you just go walk right here onto nothing, you can end up talking to that shy guy that was pestering you, and if you let him go, he'll give you the fertilizer. And once you give this gentleman all the ingredients he asked for, a lovely beanstalk will grow right before your eyes. So naturally you want to climb the beanstalk here, but unfortunately there's no giant at the top of it for you to have to fight as a super boss. However, what you do find up here is the best weapon in the game, the Lazy Shell, as well as one of the best armors in the game, the Lazy Shell. However, the caveat with the Lazy Shell armor is that it lowers your attack and magic attack. It's still a good choice to put on the princess though, because it makes her nearly indestructible. Here's my recommendation for Super Mario's equipment in Super Mario RPG. Mario's best weapon is none other than the Lazy Shell. I did a whole other video on how you actually get the Lazy Shell, but it ultimately can be found in Rose Town. Mario's best armor, on the other hand, is the Super Suit. It can be found in Monstro Town by talking to this dog after completing 100 consecutive super jumps. Assuming that you didn't get the Super Suit, Mario's best armor, the Hero Shirt, can be purchased at Crocco's second shop in Bowser's Castle. As far as accessories are concerned, Mario's attack scarf is a very good choice, but in order to get it, you have to talk to this Monstro Town dog after getting 30 consecutive super jumps. The jump shoes are another great choice, because Mario can damage any enemy with the jump spell this way. This is especially useful if you've been leveling up Mario's jump spell, which I've also done a video on explaining. The jump shoes can also be found in the Mushroom Kingdom shop. Stuff like the safety ring is always a viable option for defensive capabilities, but what are your favorite equipment pieces for Mario in his RPG? Here's my recommendations for Mallow's best equipment in Super Mario RPG. First things first, you have to make it to this room with 6 doors in Bowser's Castle. Then choose the door that makes you play Don't Touch the Lava. Then once you make your way through that obstacle course, you can access Mallow's best weapon, the Sonic Cymbals. Mallow's best armor can be purchased in Crocco's second shop in Bowser's Castle. For Mallow's accessory, he has very powerful magic attacks that hit all enemies. So equipping the Troopa Pin on him not only would raise his physical attack by 50%, it would raise his magic attack by 50% as well. Or if you're worried about Mallow's defensive capabilities, you can't go wrong with the safety ring. What equipment do you like to march Mallow into battle with? Here are my recommendations for Geno's best equipment in Super Mario RPG. First things first, you have to make it to this room with 6 doors in Bowser's Castle. Take the door that leads to the enemy gauntlet that starts with this Goomba uprising. And once you finish that gauntlet, you'll get Geno's best weapon, the Star Gun. Geno's best armor, the Star Cape, can be purchased at Crocco's second shop in Bowser's Castle. So for Geno's accessory, he has a fairly high speed stat natively. He also has the Geno Whirl ability that can do 9,999 damage to one enemy. So with that in mind, it doesn't hurt to raise his speed even more, so he can take out problematic enemies early on in the battle. So for this, you can equip the Feather to raise his speed up by 20. You can earn the Feather in this room with Dodo in Nimbus Land. If you didn't get the Feather, you can always use the Zoom Shoes to raise speed up by 10. You can buy this in the Mushroom Kingdom item shop. Do you know a better equipment loadout for Geno in Super Mario RPG? Let us know in the comments, Geno. Here's my recommendations for Bowser's best equipment in Super Mario RPG. First things first, you have to make it to this room with 6 doors in Bowser's Castle. Take the path that is simply a gauntlet of enemies enemies. This one starts with 4 terracotta soldiers. And once you finish the gauntlet, you'll find Bowser's best weapon, the Drill Claw. Arguably Bowser's best armor, the Heel Shell, can be purchased at Krako's second shop in Bowser's own castle. However, I would argue that the work pants that you can buy in the Molehill shop are an even better armor for Bowser. You do lose approximately 8 points of defense and magic defense, but you get about 10 points of attack and magic attack. As far as accessories are concerned, Bowser's an HP sponge and a pretty mean attacker. The safety ring that blocks all elemental damage and statuses is definitely a good option. If you want to focus on Bowser's offensive abilities, I'd recommend equipping the Troopa Pin, which raises his attack and magic attack by 50%. How do you like to set up the King of the Koopas in Super Mario RPG? Here's my recommendations for Princess Peach Toadstool's best equipment in Super Mario RPG. For Peach's best weapon, after you collect 6 out of the 7 stars, go back to Moleville and talk to this secret shop owner. They'll try to sell you a metal plate for 300 coins. And if the shop owner successfully sells you the metal plate, it'll turn out to be Princess Toadstool's best weapon, the frying pan. For Princess Peach's best armor, I would highly recommend equipping her with the Lazy Shell. It lowers her attack and her magic attack by 50 points, but it raises her defenses through the roof. And even if you do put the Lazy Shell on Princess Peach, the group hug spell that she has is so overpowered that it brings it down to being about a properly balanced healing spell. For Princess Peach's best accessory, I'd actually recommend equipping her with the amulet, which you can find in Booster's Tower. It raises these stats by 7 points, and I believe it's the only accessory that Peach can equip that'll help mitigate the healing penalty by equipping the Lazy Shell. How do you prefer to equip Miss Toadstool? Quick Super Mario RPG PSA. I've gone on at length in various other videos about accessories you can get in Mario RPG that raise your attack, magic attack, defense, or magic defense by 50%, but it doesn't show that in the stats menu. This is because there's actually a catch to these stat upgrades. For example, if you use any of those accessories and also try to use any sort of items that raise those stats, it won't work. It's considered the same upgrade. This is also the case if you get one of these flowers that raises a stat. It won't stack on top of these accessories. So if you want to truly be able to max your stats out to their utmost potential, you need to make sure that you equip stuff that actually increase the stats in this menu. It's at that point that you could use a bracer or an energizer to then further increase those stats by 50%. Did I miss any details about these accessories? I'm always just a comment away. Here are my recommendations for how to prepare for Coolx, the optional super boss in Super Mario RPG. I'm also going to leave a link down in the description so you understand where to get all these items and why. For starters, get your party to around level 20. Then go to Seaside Town and interact with this vendor here to try to get rock candy by giving him regular mushrooms. Once you've got all the rock candy you can stand, I'd recommend getting Caro Caro Cola next. It's a full heal for the party. You can buy Caro Caro Cola at Tadpole Pond if you help Toadofsky finish his musical piece. However, if you want to buy Caro Caro Cola in bulk, I'd recommend going to the Marymore Suite, since you can buy them for 150 coins here. This is the party I like to use, and this is their equipment loadout. The Star Egg's good to get too, because it's effectively an unlimited half of a rock candy. And with whatever space you have left, I'd recommend stocking up on syrups and pick-me-ups. Hey, if you don't think these recommendations are cool, explain yourself in the comments down below. In today's episode of Super Mario RPG Refuses to Tell You Anything, the Quartz Charm is arguably the best accessory in the entire game. In order to earn the Quartz Charm, you have to defeat the game's optional super boss, Coolx. In order to fight the super boss, you have to talk to this mole in Moleville, and he'll sell you fireworks for 500 coins. Then talk to this little mole and exchange your fireworks for a shiny stone. Finally, go back to Monstro Town with the shiny stone, and talk to this door in particular to fight Coolx, the super boss. The Quartz Charm doesn't provide any noticeable stat upgrade, but what it actually does is raise your attack, magic attack, defense, and magic defense, all by 50%. So it's effectively a ghost medal and a Troopa Pin all rolled into one. I'd be more annoyed about the hidden properties of the Quartz Charm, but you don't really need it after beating the super boss anyway. Besides, having hidden effects on accessories in Mario RPG has been par for the course. Here's the location of every invisible treasure chest in Super Mario RPG. These locations are going to go by pretty quickly in this video, so feel free to pause it at any time. One last thing though, if you're still not able to tell where a treasure chest is in this video, if you wait until after the events of Nimbus Land, If you go in the eastmost building in Nimbus Land, you'll find Croco there. If you talk to Croco, he'll wind up dropping an accessory called the Signal Ring. The Signal Ring, when equipped, will make a noise to indicate that a hidden treasure chest is in whatever room you're in. And in case you're wondering, no, there isn't any special item that you get if you find all the hidden treasure chests. The hidden treasure chest items are reward enough.